If you're a homeschooling mom navigating menopause or perimenopause, aka you're between the ages of 34 and 55-ish, and you're starting to feel like you don't even recognize yourself anymore, not just physically, but like your whole sense of who you are is changing, then this video is specifically for you. Because here's what's happening. You're managing brain fog while teaching fractions. You're dealing with irregular periods and mood swings while trying to keep everyone on schedule. Sometimes you have toddlers, preschoolers, ADHD, and then there's this loud voice inside you that keeps getting louder and louder, and it's saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Not like this. And everyone's telling you it's just hormones. Just push through. Just keep going. I believe that this phase isn't something you have to survive. What if there's actually a way to reclaim who you are, to rediscover who you are, what you want, how to build a life and homeschool that actually fits the woman you're becoming? Today, I'm walking you through 4 specific steps to reclaim yourself at 40. So 4 simple steps. Step 1 is understand what's really happening so you stop fighting reality. Step 2 is recognizing your no BS energy as a gift, not a flaw, even though your family might be worried. Step 3, ask the question that changes everything. And step 4 is take a concrete action this week. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do next. So step 1 is simple but necessary. You need to understand what's actually happening in your body so you can stop fighting it and start working with it. Perimenopause can begin in your mid-30s or early 40s, and it's not just hot flashes. Let me tell you what you might be experiencing so you know you're not alone. You might experience irregular periods or heavier bleeding, brain fog that makes you forget what you were teaching mid-sentence, sleep disruptions. You're tired, but that doesn't mean you can stay asleep. Mood swings, increased anxiety, energy that crashes at 2 p.m. when you still have stuff to do, and this overwhelming feeling of being done with tolerating things that used to just roll off your back. When you're homeschooling, this perimenopause experience hits differently. You can't call in sick. You can't take a mental health day. You're on from the moment you wake up until bedtime, planning and teaching and refereeing and managing. You might still be on for another decade. But here's what you need to know. Your body isn't betraying you. It's literally changing its priorities. Those hormones that used to make you more accommodating, more servant-like, supportive, helpful, more nurturing, more willing to put everyone else first, they're declining. And your body is saying, okay, what do you need? What do you want? Your action for step 1 is to stop pathologizing what's happening. Stop thinking something is wrong with you, because it's not. Instead, get curious. Notice what your body is telling you. Write it down if it helps. Just observe without judging it for a few days. Just notice what's going on. Which brings us perfectly to step 2. I like to call this the no BS energy. It's your superpower. It is not a problem. So let's talk about this thing that happens around 40 that I think is one of the most beautiful, underrated gifts of this age. I call it the no BS energy. You know how you used to say yes to everything? You know, that extra volunteer commitment or play date that you didn't really want, the family thing that drained you, a curriculum that everyone else said is amazing but made you want to tear your hair out. And now you're finding yourself saying, actually, no, that does not work for us. That does not work for me. You might wonder if it's you being selfish, but it ain't. Though some might say so. I say, this isn't you being difficult. Someone close might think so. Sure. Actually, this is you finally starting to honor what you actually need and want. Glennon Doyle talks about this in her book, Untamed, how we've been so conditioned to listen to everyone else's expectations, to that inner critical voice that tells us we should be smaller, quieter, more accommodating. But underneath all that, there's this wild, true voice that's been waiting for us to listen. And as homeschooling moms, we are especially prone to this. We're already going against the grain by educating at home. We're already defending our choices to the mail person, to the grocery store clerk, every person that isn't directly involved in your homeschool life. We're already feeling like we need to prove ourselves. So we pile on more. We need more structure, more curricula, more activities. perfection. But what if this is the phase of life that's inviting you to strip all that away, to ask, what do we actually want our homeschool to look like? What kind of life do we want to create? Which brings us to the real question. Who are you and what are you here for? This is the question that LaToya and I kept coming back to in our conversation in the podcast episode this past week. Who are you? Not who you were at 25, not who you thought you would be, not who everyone else needs you to be, but who are you now? And I'll be real with you. I know that this question can feel scary because when you've spent 15, 20 years being someone's wife, someone's mom, someone's educator, the idea of having your own identity, your own desires, your own time, it can feel selfish, almost selfish. But it ain't. Here's what's really shifting. Taking up space in your life isn't taking away from your family. It's actually the most valuable thing you can give them. When you model what it looks like to honor your needs, set boundaries, pursue your interests, say no to what depletes you, say yes to what lights you up, you're teaching your kids, showing them what a whole integrated person looks like. You're giving them permission to do the same. This might look like dropping the curriculum that makes you miserable, even if it's the best or other people really like it. Building in time for your learning, your reading, your projects. Being honest when you need a break instead of white-knuckling through. Letting go of the Pinterest perfect homeschool aesthetic. Creating space for the kind of education that actually energizes you and your kids. And that brings us to step 4. We need to listen to our inner voice and begin to take up space. All right, let's get practical because inspiration is great and I love it and it is definitely my thing. But we need actual steps we can take this week, right? So first, we need to start noticing. For the next week, just start paying attention to your inner dialogue. Not trying to change it yet, just noticing. When your inner critical voice shows up saying, you should be doing more, you're not enough, everyone else has it together, just notice it. Name it. Maybe write it down in a journal. Name it by saying, oh, there's that critical voice again. And then ask, what is my true voice saying underneath that? Your true voice might be saying, I'm tired. This doesn't feel right. I need help. I actually want something different. Keep a little note on your phone. Just jot it down when you notice the difference between those two voices. You'll begin to see a pattern. Create non-negotiable space for yourself. I'm not talking about a 3-hour morning routine or a week-long retreat, though if you can do that, amazing. Let me know where you're staying. I'm talking about one thing that's just for you, non-negotiable. Maybe it's 20 minutes with your coffee before you open the homeschool books in the morning, or a walk alone 3 times a week. Reading for pleasure, not just homeschool planning. Pursuing a hobby you dropped when the kids were born. Saying no to one thing this week that you would have said yes to out of obligation. But here's the key. You don't have to earn this time. You don't have to do everything else perfectly first. The house does not have to be clean before you do this. You just claim it. Audit your homeschool through the lens of your energy. Look at your homeschool day or your homeschool week with new eyes. What part lights you up? What part drains you completely? What are you doing because you think you should? What would you do if no one was watching or judging? Then make one change. Drop one thing that's draining you. Add one thing that energizes you. Maybe you hate formal grammar lessons or sentence diagramming like me, but you love reading aloud together. Maybe you can shift your approach. Maybe you need more time outside and less time at the kitchen table. Maybe you need to stop comparing your homeschool to anyone else's. Connect with people, your people. Create your people. You cannot do this alone. And I mean that. Reclaiming yourself at age 40 or around the perimenopause years while homeschooling, do one of these. Either text a friend and be completely open with her about what you're feeling. Not the filtered version, the real version. Join my upcoming workshop on calming the inner critic, because learning to separate the critical voice from your true voice is essential for this work. I'll link it in the description below. Listen to a podcast episode or read a chapter of a book like Glennon Doyle's Untamed that reminds you that you're not alone in this. And then comment on this video and share what you're experiencing. I promise you someone else needs to hear your story. I've been so blessed to hear all of your stories. It helps me to understand that my stories, when I was in the thick of homeschool life, I wasn't alone either. Unquestionably, isolation makes this all harder. But when you hear other women say, oh my gosh, me too, when you realize you're not alone in this, you're just in a transition phase of your life, that's when you can shift things. So those are your 4 actions for this week. Notice the difference between your inner critic and your true voice. Claim 1 non-negotiable space for yourself. Audit your homeschool and make 1 energy-based change. And connect with at least 1 other person who gets it. Pick the one that feels most urgent and start there today. Because here's what I want you to remember. Being 40, navigating perimenopause, while homeschooling your kids, this is not the end of who you are. This is the beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. We walked through the 4 steps today. Step 1, understand what's happening in your body so you can stop fighting yourself. Step 2, recognizing your no BS energy as a superpower, not a character flaw. Step 3, asking yourself, who am I now? And actually answering honestly. And step 4, taking 1 concrete action this week. Your inner voice, your true voice, not the critical one, has been waiting for you to listen. In this phase of life, with all the hormonal shifts and exhaustion and brain fog, it's actually turning up the volume so loud that you cannot ignore this anymore. You cannot ignore her anymore. She's saying take up space. Know that what's valuable for you is valuable for your family because you are valuable. Stop shrinking. Stop performing. Start reclaiming. So tell me in the comments, which of these 4 steps are you going to start with? What's 1 thing you're claiming for yourself this week? And if this resonated with you, would you please share it with another homeschool mom who might need to hear it too? Because we are all in this together. If you want to hear more about navigating motherhood, expectations at this age, I'll link my full podcast conversation with LaToya. We go deep on this topic. You are exactly who you need to be right now. And the woman you're becoming, she's going to be incredible. I'll see you next time. Until then, listen to the inner voice. She knows the way.